Okay, guys, so Attorney Walter Hnot, as you know, during this portion of the video, we go live and answer specific questions. This is where I donate to the general public, some Americans, some not Americans, how to answer specific questions about Social Security disability benefits. So this is activism/donation time. I do sometimes get people who call who demand that I represent them to go ahead and take care of some issue that they have. I even had somebody I think it was 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago who called in. I told them I couldn't take the claim because I don't do that particular type of claim anymore, but that they could always call on Thursday and I would work with them to help them out. That person then called me back, swore at me up and down. I mean, they just threw every book that had a cross on it at me. But then also used the language that would not be acceptable for that cross because who am I to restrict them from that information? So here's the deal. We have a pact. The way the pact works is that during my 9 to 5, which is really like 9 until like 10, but during that time, right, when I'm working at the law firm, I represent clients to obtain Social Security disability benefits. Disability Resolution PA is an extremely popular firm. And as a result of that, we get a lot of calls. So during the 9 to 5, if you have questions and you want to become a claimant where we work to get you disability benefits, totally cool. Give me a call. Awesome. But if it's a question where you're already receiving benefits, if it's a question where you have an overpayment, or if it's a question where, basically you're just like, hey, this weird thing happened, I want to tell you about it. That's fine. Call me during the live show Thursday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know we're starting super late today, but that's what we're doing. All right, now let's get right to it. The phone number you call in for me to help basically answer questions about Social Security benefits, how they work, what the law is 407-279-1754. Now, I've already missed about 30 phone calls. I scrolled through and it's just absolutely massive. I'm going to go ahead and take the first phone call here and get this thing rolling, and then we will begin. Here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I had a specific question, I guess, about applying for SSI for my son.
Okay, cool. So real quick, how old is the child? Has the child applied for benefits before? And how many denials has the child received so far?
So he is 14. He was diagnosed when he was in like kindergarten, first grade. In 2013, he was diagnosed by a psychiatrist. And I didn't know that I could apply for SSI for a child. I applied about 2 years ago. He got 2 denials, and I did reach out to an attorney and sent all his medical records. Mm-hmm. But I remember a grid video, and where it's harder, like, to get children approved under the age of 18 because they, rely on their parents. So I'm not sure. My attorney hasn't spoken to me about any questions or anything.
So the bottom line is it's not necessarily the reliance on the parents, although that can be a hindrance. The reason why child claims are so much more difficult is that they don't follow the same listing schematic, being that they have their own listings. Like, they're not super dissimilar from the adult listings, but there's little changes, little modifications that are very, very important. And not all disability attorneys focus and do child claims. I do them, but a lot of them don't. The other thing is that when it comes to child claims, they use the 3-step sequential process as opposed to the 5-step sequential process. The 5-step sequential process is for an adult, which has 2 additional elements, element 4 and element 5, which is, can you do your past work? And then element 5, can you do past relevant work that has or can you do relevant transferable skilled work? And can you do unskilled work? So the element 4 is, can you do your past work? Element 5, can you do any other job that might line up with what you used to do based on the skills or unskilled work? Whereas with a child claim, they don't have work usually. So what this comes down to is it's a 3-step sequential process. The first element, instead of is the person currently earning over substantial gainful activity, instead of that, the question is, are the parents, do the parents have too much money? Because remember, SSI is basically a program of last resort. So if the parents essentially, hold on, I hear Sweetie. Sweetie, what are you doing? You don't chew that. No piggy puff. My apologies. She eats electrical
I'm a
cords.
dog lover.
Yeah, she's
So I
just a
get it.
terrible little snuggle muffin. So bottom line is this, for the 3-step sequential process, element 1 is, do the parents have too much money? So a lot of people don't realize this, but not every child is eligible for SSI if a child is disabled, because if the parents have over a certain amount of money, the child cannot get an SSI check. And that angers a lot of people, but that's the way it is. So the bottom line is element 1, can the child get benefits if the parents have over a certain amount? We call that deeming. That's where they deem the income, the benefits, the resources of the parents. Okay. Then we look at essentially element 2, and what we get into is, has the impairment lasted or will it last at least 12 months or be terminal? And then we get into element 3, which are the child-based listings. So child claims can be tricky because most children live in what's called bubble land. Bubble land is essentially where a child has their parents to support them, has their parents to take care of them. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound a little inhuman, but ironically, the claims where the parents really love the child and take care of the child and spend a lot of time with the child, what happens is they take the child in for medical treatment and do all the extra IEPs, 504s, do all the extra reviews and tests. And then there's parents that don't, they love the child, but they just don't want to spend as much time with their child. And those claims are really tough because the child never really gets to go into medical, have additional tests. They're never speaking with the school about what's best for the child. There's that issue. So what I would say to you is this: child claims are inherently more difficult because the parameters shift and we are more reliant on multiple parties like the child and the parents and the school teachers and the school administrators than it would normally be with an adult, because the adult, we don't have to worry about what their parents are saying, doing, or interacting with essentially their account. So, yeah.
That makes sense. I guess my concern is like when he turns 18, whether he can be independent or not. And I don't know if it's 18 or 21, like if a child is found disabled but doesn't financially qualify because they live with their parents, then once he lives independently at age 18, or God forbid something were to happen to us, would he, since he was found disabled prior to the age, like could he be found disabled by the judge but not qualify for SSI benefits, but be found disabled, and then once he's on his own, or over 18, he could receive benefits?
Yeah, so basically the child can start to pay rent and begin the process of the transition to adult benefits. And at that point, what you want to set it up is the child would live with you, you as the caretaker / payee, and the child would essentially go ahead and pay rent on, on being able to live there. Now, remember, it's not just rent, it's also utilities and it's food. However, the SSA has recently released a legal change that they're trying to do, which will change and take out food as a category that can be used as a reduction metric against the in-kind support maintenance rule. So what that would leave you with is utilities and basically rent. And so at the end of the day, just as a heads up, 18, child's renting a room and is now an adult. But also remember, at that point, a new legal standard applies, which is the 5-step sequential process, the 5 elements of disability, which includes the adult listing levels. Now, you said that the child was diagnosed, but what was the child diagnosed with?
With autism and ADHD. I mean, there was always issues since he was born, but until he was in kindergarten, nobody wanted to say anything. I mean, he always had the head banging and and then he would had no fear, and he would take off everywhere on his own, and he wouldn't eat. He threw up every single formula to get the broken down protein formula. There was always suspicions, and he was very he was very different than his brother. As a mother, kids are different, but there was always something different, and he would when he first started talking, do the stuttering thing and everything, but nobody wanted to diagnose him yet because he wasn't in kindergarten. There was a lot of issues in kindergarten, and then finally in first grade. So I tried prior to, but I had a hard time even. They didn't, until he entered first grade, actually getting a diagnosis where, he had to go to self-contained classroom for a couple of years. And he's not a misbehaved child, but he sorts out stuff, and, it's their social skills, and they're very rigorous, and you know, I'm routine, and, you know, the haircuts was like screaming bloody murder, like all those sensory issues. And so he had to, we were in a public charter school and they didn't know how to handle. And so we had to put him in a self-contained classroom. That was our only choice they gave us. And I didn't know that I had another choice. So we did that for a couple of years and then slowly integrated him back into mainstream. But he struggles. So right now he's online schooling and doing his IEP and all that, and his therapy and his psychiatry. And then he needs eye therapy because his eyes don't focus like when they move. So I don't know how much more, like what other I need to do, because, like, you know, he's on the spectrum. The spectrum is huge, and he does have the secondary ADHD diagnosis, but it's really hard because they want to force ABA therapy, but not every autistic child needs ABA therapy. But I don't know if I should put him in there. And my concern is, like, then, you know, if we wait till he's an adult and he needs to rely on, you know, Medicaid or SSI to try to live independently, my fear is, like, then, like, well, why didn't you apply while he was a child? You know, the SSA told me when I asked the question, they told me that autism, nothing is permanently disabling, and SSA, and I don't know if this is true, cannot deem anybody permanently disabled, because with the advances in medicine and technology and all that great stuff, you know, things can change. But he used the examples of, like, I have diabetes and I can, you know, I'm not disabled because I can take my insulin and therefore I can work. But autism is not something that goes away. And yes, there are autistic kids that are more severe, less severe, more functional, less functional. But, you know, he's failing his classes. He's struggling through school. He has IEP. I mean, I don't know what else to show that, because he doesn't have to deal with money because he doesn't understand money. He doesn't work. You know, he's 14. He has the maturity level of, you know, an 8-year-old. So I'm like, I don't know what else, documentation, what else to prove other than, you know, if he doesn't financially qualify, then at least getting the disability so that it's, like,
you get the Medicaid
for him later on.
Yeah.
You know?
So, okay,
I don't know if that makes sense.
Let me get right to the heart of the matter. Did the child receive 2 technical denials due to financial deeming restrictions that you and the husband make too much, or you and the, you know, whoever you're married, or maybe not married, but, you know, because you have to be careful with what I say. Yeah. So.
No, that's fine. No. I'm not married.
Okay.
And no, we didn't receive those. It was the
medical
behavioral
denial
health place that failed to send the documents in time, even though I requested them multiple times through medical records. So they sent us to the doctor, and the doctor had him, like, put his arms out, touch his toe. Nothing related to autism. Like, absolutely nothing. And then they told me, well, if I wasn't happy with the doctor's, the doctor they sent me to with how they were testing him, I should have said something at the time. But I did not know that I had the right to question the doctor they sent me to. And they sent me to the doctor because they didn't get all the medical records. So it's kind of like, don't they have to test for autism? Like, don't they have to talk to him? Like, his eyes, like, that was not testing for autism. Like, touching your toes, walking on one leg, you know? I don't get that.
Real quick, is the child's father still in the picture?
He is, but, I mean, we don't live together, but, you know, we share custody pretty much.
Is the mother, you are making over $33,000, right around there?
No.
Okay. Are you making under $30,000?
Yes.
Do you have?
I work part-time because I live from.
Do you have one of the denial letters with you?
I do. I sent everything. I could probably try to scrape it up. Meanwhile, it was I remember saying it's insufficient. They received insufficient documentation. So if we have the right to request a hearing. Oh, here, I have it.
Remember, don't say the child's name, but go ahead and read it to me, but don't say your name or the child's name or any other names in it. Just give me the walkthrough. Yeah.
Okay. Upon receipt of your request for reconsideration, we had the child's name independently reviewed by physician and disability examiner and the state agency which works with us in making disability determination. The evidence in this case has been thoroughly evaluated. That includes the medical evidence and the additional information received since the original decision. We find the previous determination was proper under the law. Attached to this notice is an explanation of the decision we made in his claim and how we arrived at it. If you believe that the reconsideration determination is not correct, you may request a hearing before an administrative law judge of the Office of Disability Adjudication and Review. If you want a hearing, you must request it no later than 60 days from the date you receive this notice. You may make your request through Social Security officer or on the internet at the www.disability.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So here's the deal. You're going to be going to OHO, filing an appeal to have a hearing before an administrative law judge. And the bottom line is that you are going the medical route for an adjudication. The child's age is important. Is the child in the current grade or are they behind a grade?
He's in the current grade. He's in ninth grade, but he's failing all his classes, and he has an IEP. And, the IEP, unfortunately, is not as great as it doesn't really help. They don't help him with things he's falling behind on. They have their own curriculum that they have to push. So, I am in constant contact, and, he needs a lot of help, which is why, I don't work full time because I have to help him, and I put him in online school because it was hard. Social situations get hard at school with kids as they get older, and he's more immature. He just has a different maturity level. So he's not passing his classes, but the No Child Left Behind rule still
pushes him forward. Yeah. Okay. So here's all right. You called in, and I know there's a really important question that you wanted to ask me, and I kind of jumped in there. You said something about your attorney. What is the legal question? Because you're not happy about something that attorney is doing or said.
I follow you a lot, and I know that I have to call in and check in with her, so I leave messages regularly to make sure she doesn't need anything else or any way I could help. I haven't heard back, so I'm assuming she doesn't need anything from me yet. We did file for to go in front of the judge whether I wanted to do the video, if I agreed to do video, and I said yes. But I'm wondering what else I can do to help his case, because he's a child. He doesn't have gainful activity. He's failing his classes. He has speech and OT from school. I don't know. Is there anything else I could do, or is it just going to be automatically denied because he's a child?
Well, I'm going to give you a couple of details. I'm going to go to the next caller. But the first thing you need to do is get the SSA. Yeah, of course, is to get the SSA to send out a teacher's questionnaire to the specific teacher that's working with the child. The next thing you need to do is basically have them do an assessment on the child's capabilities to stay in the current grade that the child is or stay back a grade. If he's failing all of his classes and the IEP isn't working, then staying back a grade is very relevant and important for this adjudication. The next thing to do is to have the disability attorney start working with you, the mother, because ultimately you're the one that's going to be giving testimony during the hearing, because the child will not at that age be giving testimony. Usually around 14 years old is when they bring the child in, because they have enough mental capacity to go ahead and answer questions on, coming from the judge. But I will say this, you need to know what the questions are that you're likely to hear for the child claim. I made a whole series of videos. I'm not even sure how to search them. Wow. Christy Hughes. Thank you for the $5 donation. Super duper awesome. That's super awesome. I'm going to try and find real quick. And I think it's in, I have to find it. Hold on. Let me see if I can have disability hearing questions for child. Let me see if that pulls up the type of claim. Hold on. Because I think I did a whole grouping and I think it got a little messed up. But I think I did a whole thing on disability questions for child-based claims. Disability hearing questions, child.
A kid with autism can't answer those questions. They don't know. They look at, he looks at me for the answer. That's why I'm who's going to be, it would be me answering the question, he said.
Okay, cool. So so here it is. You just type in number 1 of 50 of the most common child disability hearing questions. Again, number 1 of 50 most common child disability hearing questions. type that into YouTube, and then basically check out that video. And what that will have in it are essentially the top 50 questions you're likely to experience at a child-based disability hearing claim. And that's some questions for the child, some questions for the parent, but you will be the only one answering questions. Like when it comes to the examination and cross-examination, you will be examined and cross-examined as to the child's behavior.
Okay, because I witnessed it, and
Well, yeah, your mom. You're important. You matter.
You, like,
yeah.
He's great. Everything's great. He's good. Like, he doesn't. That's why I'm like, what am I supposed to? I don't know how to do this. Real quick, what did you say about the first thing was teacher's questionnaire?
Yeah, there's a specific SSA. Yeah, let me find the form real quick. Hold on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like, his attorney would be helpful.
No worries. Yeah. Is it a local? Like, is it a Florida attorney or no?
No, we're in Indiana. I just Googled it, like Social Security disability attorney, and the first one I called, and she said she would take his case, and she asked if we got denied. I said yes, we got denied twice. And the next step is to get an attorney, because I feel like, honestly, like, we really do need an attorney.
Yeah.
This is not something, and then the legal terminology, it's like, you do.
So, I just wanted to do a shout out for Stacy. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, Burrow. I'm not sure, but thank you for the $5 donation. I super appreciate it. And again, Christy Hughes, thank you for the $5 donation as well. With this claim, you're going to need the following form to type into Google. The form is SSA-5665. Again, SSA-5665. That's the questionnaire that the SSA sends off to the teacher. And basically, the teacher of the child will go ahead and essentially complete that. You can even print one out and just take it to the teacher and have the teacher fill it out and then send it back to the SSA. But that's essentially the form that they're going to be looking for. That's the foundation of a child-based disability claim. But you have to be careful. If the child's teacher does not support the impairment or that the child is limited, then you're basically creating a document that could really hurt the claim. So you have to be careful. Does the child's teacher support the fact that the child is disabled?
Okay. And his special education homeroom teacher, not his like math or English, or I'll just go to the special education IEP, the one that oversees the IEP. Because they have like multiple teachers for different classes. Like go to like homeroom, IEP, special education teacher. Or do I do it for each teacher?
Well, I mean, here's the deal. There are teachers that interact with him more than other teachers. And what you want to do is get the teachers that are the most interactive with the child. Also, Pamela Hartwell, thank you for the $9.99 donation. That's the little thing it says. It's like a little hippo that says wrecked. So here's the deal. The most important teachers relevant to a child of that age is the main teacher that the child has most of the classes with. And for that particular type of impairment, you're going to be looking at essentially a physical ed teacher, if it's a separate teacher. And then you're also going to be looking for notations from the nurse that the child ends up interacting with. And then, of course, the IEP, if there's a specific person that's been assigned to the child, you want one for that particular person as well.
Okay, makes sense. Or OT or speech, one of those two. So I'll do them all and then use the ones that we need.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. And I really, really appreciate it, because I know a lot of things that you say from watching a lot of your videos, but I didn't know how to apply that to a child who does not, support himself. So, that was very, very helpful.
Absolutely. Well, Madame, you have a wonderful, wonderful night and all the best with that claim. And I really, really hope you get a fully favorable. My fingers are crossed, and, just do whatever you can, learn as much as you can, and any questions, call back,
Thank you so much. And thanks for helping all of us. Like, you're amazing. What you do is amazing. Thank you so much. Really, from the bottom of my heart and my son's heart, really appreciate you.
Thank you, Madame. I appreciate it. I'll catch you later. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Okay, same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks.
You. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, that makes me feel, because, the child claims are, They're tough. They're tougher than the regular adult claims. And sometimes disability attorneys will take them, but not be used to them. And so, but that's, yeah. So let's get the next caller coming in real quick. Here we go. Okay. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Please remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you?
I'd like to ask the specific questions.
Perfect, sir. How can I help you?
Okay, the first question, earlier I heard you was talking about the SSA investigative union, and my first question is, what is the time frame of an investigation? Like, does it last from like at least a month to 6 months? What's the time frame of it?
Okay, so basically, investigations, usually a CDR will take anywhere from essentially 2 months to potentially 7 to 8 months. When they occur, they send out the initial forms, and while the initial forms are going out, they're already having a claim kind of being built up. But they won't usually get the investigator involved until they know specifically where you're going to be on certain days. So if they know that you always go shopping for groceries on a certain day, like you get your benefits and then you go buy groceries, they're going to go ahead and follow you from your house to the, potentially follow you rather to the shopping center, Walmart, Publix, whatever. And then, of course, if you have to go to a consultative examination or you have an appointment with the local SSA field office, they'll get you there. But the amount of time that the investigator is going to spend with you defines essentially how good their investigation, footage is, like how quickly they can catch footage that shows you doing one thing or another. So what I've noticed from these reports is that if that particular, CE, or rather a CDI individual, that investigator is not successful on the first day or the second day, they'll continue to investigate, but they are not going to repetitively, continuously follow you, because the money isn't there for an investigator to spend all their time on one claimant over a long period of time, unless they are a very unique claimant where basically it's mega fraud, big money fraud, or potentially they're attached to a significant event, such as, for example, the fraud that occurred with the police department and the firefighters of 9/11 thereafter with disability benefits. So in that case, or, in which case something like that goes to, district court, the federal court system, not inside the little SSA docket system. So, well, it's not really little, but you know what I mean? So the point is, the time that you're being investigated in the sense of somebody following you, very short period of time. The time in which they're poring over all the records, collecting information, that's what takes time. Also, the SSA likes to take a little time to figure details out. Some of these claims are easy. They're short form. They know, you've been going to the doctor, yada, yada, yada. You're good to go. Some of these investigations, long form with a full CDI unit attachment and a full fraud investigation, they take time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think you answered really my second question, but I had another question while you were explaining gave me the first answer. So when they do investigate, this only happens when CDR occurs, or it can just happen anytime?
Okay, so that's a really good question, and I should do a video on that. It's not just when a CDR is occurring. Sometimes investigations can happen outside of a CDR, which is when there's particularly saucy fraud, as I would put it, where essentially they're prepping a claim to file charges against you, where, in that instance, you might have the U.S. Marshals pop up. Or, as I have had a couple of times, because, I've been doing this for a while, I'll get a call specifically from the FBI or from, individuals that are part of the DOJ, telling to me details about the person that I'm representing and what they currently have as to evidence related to it. And they will flat out ask me whether or not I want to continue my representation with this individual. So, but, that's highly, highly rare stuff. And the bottom line is that, those don't pop up often. So, yeah.
Okay, my last question, I think you answered it. Can you be investigated more than one time, more than once?
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right, man. Thank you for your information, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, good sir. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Attorney Walter. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question or run hearing questions with you? And just remember to use a fake name throughout the process. Go ahead.
Sure. My name is Steve. I have a disabled child. We'll say his name is Robert. And I'm wondering how I got full custody of both my children. When I got full custody of both my children, he is disabled, and they're not questioning his disability, but I wanted to buy a house because I just got kicked out. So I had too much money in the bank, so they kicked me off of the SSI. So now I'm wondering, since I'm going back through the approval process, because I'm working, how much is that going to affect? And is it going to disprove him from the SSI?
Well, so the deeming process that you run into, and I don't have the calculations in front of me, you know, it's usually around like 33, 34, or whatever. And it's based off of how many kids you're watching, all that stuff. But also remember certain things are deductible. So you also have to do an analysis on what things are needed for the child's upkeep. And as a result of that, what monthly things are deductible against the, you know, potential deeming process of you having earnings. So, I mean, like how much are you earning per month?
I'd say, let me just do the calculation so I can give you an accurate number.
Yeah, that's fine. Either the yearly or the monthly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm able to work full time, it's under $700 per week. So times 4 is, so say $2,500 a month.
Give me one moment. Let me just do a quick math calculation.
And before when I got full custody, I made the work arrangements with my job so that I can put the kids on the bus and everything like that. And I was able to work a little bit less hours, but now they're complaining they want me to work back up to the full 40 hours, and I'm waiting for the SSI to go through. So I don't know if me working extra is going to kick me off or anything like that.
So you're right at that line. You're at the 30,000 there, and it'll probably go up a little bit from there. So what I would do is I would call the SSA and see how they have it set up on their end as to who they're deeming, because you can potentially reduce the issue by having 2 earners on the record and just reducing it because you were kicked out to essentially 1. The other thing is you have to look at what items are deductible that can be deducted against potential earnings that you have that they could deem against you. So another thing is to get a list of all those things that are deductible options. Another thing that you should do is basically structure your income in a way that when you receive it, it's not all counted. That's kind of fancy lawyer stuff there, like trial tactic stuff, but that's another thing I would say to look into. And kind of the other bottom line here is there's a lot of things you could do. Start with those, get rolling with those, and then give me a call next Thursday, and I can always kind of give you an update from there. You know.
All right. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know what's going to happen with, like, right now they say it's not in their office, that they sent it over to the DDS office. And the DDS office, they're like, oh, it hasn't made it to anybody's desk right now. So they keep telling me to call back. So I'm just kind of waiting for that and wondering, like, if this is actually going to go through. You know what I mean? I have 2 kids. One is disabled. The other one's not. But, you know, it's not easy trying to work as much as I can to take care of the 2 of them. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. No, I hear you. Work on those. Give me a call back. We'll catch up from there. What I'm trying to do too is kind of go through as many calls as I can, but work on that, and then we'll kind of catch up on the next round and basically go from there. But your main issue is element 1 deeming. How much are you allowed to earn, and who do they have on the file that they're calculating against the child's deeming?
Okay, and they'll have that. Like, they'll be able to tell me how much I'm actually allowed to earn.
Yeah, the local field office will be able to give you that. But remember, you got to figure out who's on his file, because they might be using more than one person as part of the deeming exercise. But if you were kicked out, make sure you have proof of how you were kicked out, where you're living now, where the original other parent is, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through the whole process where I have full custody, and I had everything switched over to my name already. But when they switched it over to my name, I had too much money in the bank because they were telling me, because you can buy a house, you're allowed to own a house, but
Oh, of
if you
course.
can't have more than 2,000. How can you buy a house if you can only have more than 2,000 of assets in the bank? And it's not like you can magically have a bunch of money outside the bank. It doesn't work like that when you're buying a house. So how do I go about actually buying a house if I can't have that much in assets in the bank?
The way it works. Well, all right, that's a whole nother
Yep.
video. Let me do that on another video because that takes like 15 minutes. And if I literally pull out my
Yep.
little soapbox and do a little dance on it, it will be 15 minutes down the line,
Yep.
and I won't answer other calls because I know how I am. Like if there's a soapbox, I will pull it out. So
That's fine. I mean, if you make a video on it, then I can go and watch it. So I'm all excited about that. You know what I mean? As long
Yeah.
as you can make the content, I'm more than happy to come and watch your shows. I love the work you do, especially with the homeless people and the little videos. I enjoy watching them.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate it too. I was told by a media manager person that the homeless videos were not actually beneficial to adding to the views, and they were creating subscribe. What was it called? It was like subscriber
Yeah.
confusion or something like that. And I was just like, whatever, I don't care. But here's the thing.
It's not content for everybody. But
Right.
For me, my daughter's 7, and I'm trying to teach her to help homeless people and stuff like that. So it's nice to go onto this thing and just show her homeless people. They're not scary. It's not like they're gonna be mean to you or anything like that. 90% of people, if you walk up and say hi, they're cordial to you. It's you don't have to be fearful just because they're homeless.
That makes me so happy because I literally put these videos up to create a platform where homeless get to have a voice, and for somebody to get and then show a younger person that homeless people really are not these dangerous creatures that the news portrays them to be is such an incredible thing. Like that you just validated. And I had a meeting with this person who was, explaining to me, had a master's in basically online media development. And they were explaining to me why I shouldn't be uploading them. And I was like, yeah, but at the same time, they're important.
It's content that needs to get out there.
Right. Yeah. So
I mean, I enjoy it just because it brings a normal sense to the people that are homeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To kind of normalize them. Just because they're homeless does not mean that they're not any different than you or me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the amazing thing. Like a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of children don't realize. And it's when they're kids, it's not always good to instill the reality in them. But the reality is that you could have $5 million in the bank. Something terrible could happen. Something else that's terrible could happen. And then all of a sudden you're in jail and now you have nothing. And now you're homeless. And now you've been arrested because you were sleeping next to the garbage can of a business and you got trespassed. So, just letting people know that unfortunately, there are good people who get arrested, letting them stew with that in their mind and understand that, wow, maybe everything's not so like the good side and the bad side. That's important because, kids like Disney, and Disney is there's the good side and then there's the bad side. And the reality is that it's much more complicated than that. In fact, I was talking to this one kid, whatchamacallit, about essentially what happens with these people who become drug dealers. And it was like an 18-year-old or whatever. So it wasn't really a kid, but it was a younger person. And, that person was like, well, they'll just stop using drugs. And I was like, okay, well, how are they going to do that? And the person was just going through these things, but that's like a college age, almost individual there, at 18. And what I realized was that, the media produces this negativity towards people who become exactly what the commercials want them to do. The commercials tell them, drink our tequila. The commercials tell them, have a good time at the party. The big concerts tell them, smoke this or do that or whatever. And so when these people end up doing what they were told to do and, end up addicted to these things, and we sit back and we go, well, how could that person do that? How could they become addicted? The reality is they were told to. They were told to by sources that they trusted, which led to their downfall. And, do we blame the person, or do we sit back and say, look, have your giant parties and your giant, stadium concerts where people are using this stuff, but at least educate the kids a little bit better. as to what happens. And one of the things that I don't like about American media is that Hollywood pushes this like agenda that doesn't include the reality of the homeless. And you don't see homeless people, real homeless people in most movies. You don't see real homeless people in most TV channels with their shows and their, this season, that season. And what's upsetting to me about that is that they're so preachy over in California, but yet none of them are willing to produce those individuals in something of any real value. And so what we end up watching are a bunch of actors portraying people instead of the people actually showing their life. So it's just,
everybody gets like a subcategory of what it's supposed to look like. You know what I mean? The typical homeless person looks like this. That's just not the way it is. You know what I mean?
What's funny is I went into Chick-fil-A, and I like going into Chick-fil-A after I've worked a really hard day where I'm sweaty and I have duct tape stuck to my shirt and I'm covered in dust and I'm covered in dirt. I love walking into Chick-fil-A just in that particular position. All the people in there look at me like I am, sacrilege. I am this terrible sinner. How could I be present? Yada, yada, yada. And what that to me is that there's a protected class of individuals who enjoy chicken, specifically from Chick-fil-A. And I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't like waffle fries? And so,
of course.
that's good stuff. A little Chick-fil-A sauce, it goes down well. So, bottom line is, though, they look at me like I'm a heathen. And to me being there after a hard day's work of outside stuff with grass clippings and, all that stuff all over me, that to me is an education to them that even somebody with my capacity to deliver verbiage at a higher level is not someone they should look down on, but rather somebody that they should question. Okay, what's going on here? Maybe my preconceived notion about this person not having anything in his brain is wrong. A lot of people think I go there and I just want chicken. No, I want to prove a point. So,
so. I believe it.
Anyways, I will catch you later. All the best with it, but give the SSA a call, Yeah.
Yep.
All righty.
Enjoy, man. Thanks for the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hi, we are live on YouTube. This is Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. And would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
I got a couple questions.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Basically, I have applied, and I've got a firm. It's been over 300 days, and when I look at the dashboard, it says like 79%, and it's been sitting there forever.
Mm-hmm.
I've got multiple issues. I've had bilateral knee replacement, and they recommended me having them redone because I'm having issues with them. I've got an infection in one. I've got a broken clavicle. I've got short-term memory loss, and I had a stroke in the last episode of a revision. They let blood clots go through. And I'm just wondering what my chances are to get through. I mean, I'm just sitting here wondering why I take it so long.
All right. So first and foremost, cardiovascular based listing potential. So here's the thing. When people ask me like, hey, what are my chances? My always response is I would need, depending on how big your medical record is, anywhere from 3 to 8 hours to read through all the medical documentation that you've achieved so far from going to these different doctors, clinics, etc. So just to say like, hey, I have this condition. It's like somebody asking me, I've got COPD. Am I going to be found disabled? I'm like, I have to look at your record. Like COPD, there's specific numbers as to, what your breathing capacity is. We look at FCV, we look at FEV1. We look at these numbers that dictate, whether or not you meet listing level criteria. And if not, then all of your impairments combined, do you likely, fall into a vocational allowance? Man, I don't know. I'd have to read your medical records and see what's going on. But let me ask you a few questions, and then we'll kind of go from there. What are your top 5 most severe disabling conditions?
Walking, my knees, again, like I said, they've been replaced, both of them bilateral, but I'm having major issues. Matter of fact, I just fell again, just trying to walk across a concrete floor, and which cracked an ankle bone somehow. And then again, like I said, I've got short-term memory loss, and I've got a issue at nighttime with one eye. My left eye, when it goes dark, it goes black. I mean, as long as there's sunlight coming in, I can see out of it. But like if a room turns light off, that eye goes bad instantly. And they're saying it's because of stroke.
Okay. So are you currently working?
I am part-time. We own our own business, and I'm able to do a little bit. And that's what my next question was. I had an offer to come back to work for another place again. I don't know that I can actually do it, but the offer's out there, and that was the question. Is it going to instantly ruin my chances for me trying?
Okay. So how much are you earning per month?
Less than about $600-800.
Okay. And what's your current age?
I'm 54, fixing to turn 55 in July.
And so about a grid out, limitations with ambulation, limitations with lifting, limitations with chest movement, limitations with high productivity work, limitations with stress. What were
And
you?
also, I've got a torn rotator cuff.
What were you trained to do? What was your academia/vocational training in?
I was a master technician. My certificates just went out. I'm actually an L3 master certified master technician. I did teach as an adjunct professor for almost, I took 2 quarters with a university. And that just, I wasn't able to do that. I tried after I was initially hurt in the original knee replacement.
Real quick, I want to thank Anna. I want to pronounce it right. Daisy Giron Williams. She just basically donated $30, which is a massive amount. That's like a huge donation amount for the chat section. So super that's amazing. Thank you, Mrs. Giron Williams. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that is a massive donation. I really, really appreciate that. That's incredible. Really incredible. So with your situation, good sir, you have specialty training. How long ago did you receive the specialty training, and did you thereafter use that specialty training in a vocation that had that training or required that certification?
And I'm not really understanding the question that you're asking me. Again, like I say, I was a master certified technician mechanic, basically a glorified mechanic with ASE certificate. I did not graduate high school, but I was able to use my credentials because of the ASE certificates over the years, 35 years plus. And I had taught over the years through my job, but then I was able to go to this university and what they call a substitute teacher and adjunct professor. But I was not able to even do as much as I wanted to do, just wasn't able to do it.
So, all right. So okay. So were you a mechanic? Were you working on vehicles? Were you working on the mechanic things that you were taught how to do through most of your life?
Yes, I'm a ASE certified master technician for automobiles, vehicles, trucks, farm equipment, everything I've worked on over my life. But again, it's just come to that point, and I've got degenerative bone disease and major arthritis in addition to all these other issues that I've had.
All right. So here's the reality. Your type of work is pretty high SVP, requires a lot of physical activity and heavy lifting. So what you're going to be shooting for is a grid out potential without the use of your education for transferable skills. And you had this training, this certification, how long ago? Like, when did you graduate with it?
I graduated with the initial board certificate in 1988, and
Okay.
I've actually carried my ASEs for the last 30 years. And you have to reaffirm them every 3 to 4 years, and I've always been able to, or had always been able to, upgrade and go to the next level. Like I said, I'm with the L1 master certified, but with the stroke, I've got some short-term memory issues, so I'm not positive that I could actually pass the update.
Okay, so that's a long, long time ago, which means that capability of direct entry as a result of education is low. So you're going to be shooting for basically a potential grid out for sedentary and light for your particular age with those impairments. But just make sure you prep it for a vocational allowance well. That's going to take me a longer amount of time to kind of go through how you would do that. But bottom line is go learn about grid outs. We call them griddings, but grid outs. Go learn about the 50 to 54 category and 55 to 60 category. The easiest way for you to be found disabled is to basically either amend your AOD to when you turned 55 or roll the dice with the 50 to 54 category.
All right. Well, I surely appreciate. I watch you religiously on YouTube. You are one of the best lawyers, and I really thank you for helping everybody that you do. You're awesome.
Thank you, good sir. I really appreciate you calling in. I will catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to call back at some point in the future and let us know how it goes.
Surely will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, good sir. Bye-bye. So we're going to be taking one more call, and that one more call is going to be. So, guys, there's so many calls on here. I'm not like it's just. I'm not even sure, man. It's not even a countable amount for me to pick. I'm just going to pick the last one that I missed because I just, because remember, we only have a short period to do like a bunch of calls. And when there's like 40 calls that I've missed, it's like, how do I even tackle that, Howdy, howdy. This is Attorney Walter Hnot, Disability Resolution PA. We are live. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. That way, nobody knows your identity. Now, would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
It's a specific question, I believe.
Perfect, sir. How can I help you?
Well, my case was approved in 2019, and it was based on medical imaging and medical imaging and a residual capacity, functional capacity form, which backed up my claim.
Mm-hmm.
So now, 3 months from now, I have the CDR coming up, but I live in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors here are refusing to provide me with the proper MRI to show that my condition is current, and they're also refusing to acknowledge that my condition, it causes limits in my capacity. In other words, they're saying I'm fine. I could go run, jump, and play with Jane and Harry, even though my medical evidence shows otherwise.
Mm-hmm. So you're from the tri-state area. I would have known that if you'd said, that state that you said have not, because you got the Italian, all right. So walk me through this real quick. You've got doctors that aren't supporting you. You can't get a new RFC signed by them. I mean, are you willing to travel a little bit to get out of the area to go to a different doctor to go ahead and get a differing opinion?
Well, it's tricky because I'm on Medicaid, and it only covers medical benefits here. I would have to pay out of pocket. I mean, if I traveled outside, basically I would have to pay out of pocket, because here in Pennsylvania, once I'm sorry, they did one imaging, but that was done. I don't know if you're familiar with open MRI.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So an open MRI, it's not as powerful. The battery, the imaging isn't as strong. And I have like a labral tears, and it basically didn't show the labral tears and tendon tears that I've had for 3 years. And so, they haven't disappeared miraculously, but it's just the poor imaging that they did here that failed to show it. And
so, I mean,
so that's going to come.
Okay, so what you're worried about is you've got imaging. The imaging hurts your claim because basically diagnostic impression looked at the report, and the report was not pro you. So, look, how bad are we talking here? Like, what does this report have in it that you're worried about?
Okay, well, let's say 2000, well, for 3 years, I've been going to, for 4 years, I've been going to doctors in New York, and they all said, okay, they did the MRIs, and they showed that, oh, well, you have you have stenosis, I have numbness, basically the lower part of my left leg is numb. They did conduct some kind of nerve test that showed I have nerve damage due to spine injury.
Yeah.
And they also showed that I have, calf impingements, like torn labrums, this was all New York, which may need replacement by this year. And but yeah, when I come here in Pennsylvania, the doctors here basically tell me, take a cortisone shot and be happy and go live prosper. There's nothing else wrong with you. You have arthritis, live with it.
All right. So what you need realistically is, and Medicaid's tough on this, attachment to specialists that are going to support your claim. So have you seen or tried alternative specialists in your area?
Yes, Attorney Walters. However, here in Pennsylvania, there's the HMO, which basically handles, they have they keep a record, and once you have a record of one doctor stating something, the other doctor will not contradict that and will not perform his own independent test. In other words, they do a test on you. When doctor states this in a report, no other doctors want to or feel they're allowed to. They're not allowed to do another test.
Unless that doctor has been discharged and there's some sort of issue with the test, which you said that there was. Yeah.
Or I wait, or technically, if I wait another year, but I don't have another year.
So you want to know how to bolster this when the MRI came back and it doesn't say what you want it to say, which means you need.
My spine,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tony.
No, go ahead.
Yes, go. Well, that's regarding my hips, but I also have receive disability for the spine, and I do have recent imaging that shows I still have ongoing stenosis and nerve damage in my back. So I was thinking of playing my cards with my spine condition.
No, you have to play them with all the conditions, because what it sounds like you got back in the day, it was some sort of vocational allowance, which means it was all impairments combined equated to an inability to go ahead and work. So, all right, let's talk about the basics here. Obviously you have your ambulatories that have been prescribed to you, right? Ambulatory devices prescribed to you, right? Your walker, wheelchair, cane, crutches, all that jazz.
I only have I had a recent prescription for a cane from one of my doctors.
Yeah, that's not good enough. You're going to need a walker with a seat. Canes no longer work. Around 2015, that stopped to be usable in a vocational setting. So you got to get a walker with a seat. All right. What about the shots? When was the last time you had a shot for this?
Well, they want I've been refusing the cortisone shots because I have, really bad kidney conditions. I'm pre-diabetic. So based on that, I don't, I refuse the shot. I refuse cortisone.
Okay. Do you have a doctor's letter stating that that's an acceptable reason to not go that medical course?
No, all I have is this lab test that show the kidney damage and the pre-diabetes.
Yeah, you might want to get a letter to tie that up, get rid of the loose ends on that particular argument. Next thing is, when it comes to medical treatment, how often are you going in for therapy related to your back issues and things like that?
Well,
I already know you're going to say you're not. So what I'm getting at is, go get your therapy. Go show your range of motion limitations, because, you know, look, if you're saying, hey, MRI didn't come back looking pretty, then they've got to go ahead and show upon actual movement, upon actual this or that, the pain limited you to the point which you could not function. Because remember, if you can't win it on medical images, then you got to win it on range of motion limitation and pain limitation. So.
Oh, I see. I tried. I recently been to a sports medicine doctor, and he performed a bunch of tests. And basically, attorney, he told me that, yeah, you're pretty messed up, and I can tell based on my experience that you're going to need a procedure. And all the therapy in the world is not going to help you. And he basically gave me a therapy routine to go do at home because, you know, I really need an operation. And I asked him, well, can I have that in writing? And he said he would, but that was like 3 weeks ago. And he still has. Mm-hmm. So
okay.
I guess I'm going to have to go back, continue up and trying, you know. I don't want to badger him, but I can, you know, keep corresponding with him or look for somebody else.
One of the things that people, and I'm not saying it's people in the tri-state area, although I'm about to say, one of the things people in the tri-state area always do is they limit themselves to specific people because they expect that there's like this, I don't know, magical, like, this is my buddy, this is my pal, this is my person thing going on. And in reality, you know, you could go to multiple different types of doctors that are within the traditional form of Western medicine or outside of it, but are still covered under Medicaid because it's still an acceptable form of therapy. You just got to look and see what other types of doctors are available out there that are not specific to the ones you're using right now, and get bolstered evidence from alternative sections of the medical community. Because remember, the tri-state area is filled with a lot of old doctors that are not going to stick their neck out or even their arm out or even their pinky for you. But for some reason in that area, there's like this, that's my buddy, that's my thing. If they were really your buddy, they'd be writing an RFC letter for you. And I'm guessing your doctor won't do that.
No, they here in Pennsylvania, they basically, they just haven't really like refused to treat my condition outside of just the injections, which, you know, are not, you know, the doctors in New York said, I need an upper hip replacement, and the doctors here said, you're fine, and just take a shot. So that's where I'm at. But I wanted to ask you, how about a chiropractor might be qualified to you know, substantiate my claim? Use this written.
Yeah, so chiropractors are doctors, but they're more considered in line with essentially advanced registered nurse practitioners. But look, the bottom line is you need any and all practitioners in the medical community to bolster the evidence to show that you have limitations, not only of the review of the potential MRI documentation, but, you know, the imaging, but also essentially in your range of motion, pain, physical capabilities, cooking, cleaning, laundry, getting dressed, you know, taking a shower, hygiene related functions, etc. So there's a lot of people that cater to the back industry, that cater to your particular impairments. Yes, you could go get a chiropractor. That's one of them for sure. Totally fine. But remember, start making a plan as to which doctor you're going to jump to for your specialists related to that. And also, don't be afraid to go ahead and go onto these medical community boards and basically ask who, you know, which doctor in your state people are using who are on disability benefits. People tend to huddle to a particular doctor because that doctor is more pro patient, you know?
I see. Well, thank you. It was like, that was my case. I mean, you know, my case was approved during the pandemic, and you know, my hearing was over the phone. It was a phone hearing. So, you know, and I had a lawyer, but basically what I want to say was, it was expedited because of the circumstances and because of my age, because I'm going to be 62 at the time of the review.
Oh man, you're 60. The last year you're going to get potential review is 63. I mean, look, go to your doctors, get your treatment. You're going to be fine. You didn't have surgery to magically get better, right?
No, I haven't. Nobody wants to perform surgery. They told me, all the doctors here in Pennsylvania tell me, I don't need surgery, just a nice good old cortisone injection.
All right. You're going to be okay. You're going to be just fine. Because of your age, they're not going to want to go into a big hassle of this thing. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Remember, they're stopping CDRs for the most part at 63. Rarely it's above that, but you should be just fine. But please go get a prescription for that walker with the seat. Please go see multiple medical physician providers in that particular field of impairment. And please, please, please remember, find which doctors you should be going to, because some of them are not pro-patient. Some of them are pro-SSA because they work for the SSA as a medical consultative examination expert. And remember, the bottom line with that is that they're supposedly supposed to be neutral, but it's hard to say someone is neutral when almost all of their pay comes from the government.
I just want to add, like my last thing, I just wanted to tell you that when I moved here, I called the SSI office, the local SSA office, and they told me, well, gee, you're the first one and the only one on collecting disability in the county.
Well, hey.
I mean, I'm laughing because what are the chances of that?
I mean, there's no way that's true. But yeah, no, I hear you. But anyways, good sir, I will catch you a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and, whoa, somebody just donated teapot. Yeah, you have a wonderful, wonderful night. And give us a call with an update down the line,
Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and you have a great evening.
Wow. Thank you, good sir. Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So I really got thrown off there because T-Paw made a massive, super humongous donation. Just massive. Wow. And T-Paw, you got to give me a call so we can talk about the stuff we were talking about, by the way. But thank you. That is a massive, massive donation. That's incredible. And I especially appreciate it right now because doing this house thing is so incredibly expensive. It's just mind-bogglingly expensive. And like, keep in mind, like, I don't have the background, the experience and knowledge when it comes to rebuilding a house, but all the realtors who have seen the house at this point, before like this process really began, where they're like, okay, well, cool, man, if you want to buy this, you're going to need this form, and you're going to have to fix this, and this. And these are all buddies of mine. And they all advised me, they're like, so they were like, look, you should go ahead and, work on it, get it fixed up, and then basically do whatever you want with it. And I was like, well, I really want to rent it, and I'm going to rent it no matter what. I'm not selling it. I think it's an awesome property, and I don't want to get in the business of buying things and then selling like houses. I don't want to be like a flipper or a short sailor or whatever the heck they're called. What I want to do is basically buy houses, fix them up, and then rent them so that when I'm older, I have like a retirement plan, because, I report with you guys essentially what's happening with retirement benefits. What are the problems? What are the solutions? And I can tell you definitively, there are a lot of ideas on the table. And I can tell you definitively, no one has come up with the idea yet. I haven't come up with the idea yet. They haven't come up with the idea yet. Nobody has come up with like the idea yet where everybody's like, oh, let's do it, So I am concerned. And most people in my generation are not concerned in the slightest, because they're just like, whatever. It's not like, they don't think about retirement benefits. They don't even think about disability benefits, none of that stuff. So to me, this is my plan. Like, I am not planning on being able to, when I'm older, get retirement benefits in its current form. I'm planning on creating essentially my future retirement. But T-Pod, thank you. Those donations are extremely helpful. And here's why. It's a unique purchase situation where basically the house needed massive amounts of work. And when I say massive amounts of work, I mean soup to nuts. Every ceiling has to be shaved of all the popcorn because there's all kinds of stuff on it, including mold. Fence around the pool, roof repairs, including holes. So much tree debris that it took basically 2 properties and their entire front section by the road of the 2 properties filled up all the way, I think about 4 or 5 times worth. There were so many items that had to be, taken to the solid waste dump that it took 22 to 23 14 LX Big Tex trailer loads. It's one of those big dumping trailers with the high walls. 22 to 23. I can't remember which one I'm on, to take all that stuff. As I was told by my buddy, who's a realtor, when I first started this, that he said some really that could have been taken as mean, but I don't take things as mean. But I think he was referencing that I was probably insane for trying to restore the house. I do remember portions of that phrasing, but being stronger than that. I remember being stronger than that, especially when he was summarizing things for me. I remember when I showed somebody the house, they were horrified, and I could feel the energy off of them. So as a result of this crazy idea of restoring this house, which T-Paw, again, I really appreciate it. Yes, the dogs are going to have a feast because I actually have to go buy more treats for them. And they're so spoiled. They're right now asleep on the green screen right over there. And Sweetie is basically, Sweetie. So Sweetie has taken, when the green screen has like extra material that comes off the green screen, well, she took it, puddled it up with her paws, and made it into a pillow. And now she's just basically, here, check this out. Let me see if I can spin this thing. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I just have to make sure I don't have this report in any way part of this. Hold on real quick. Hold on. Okay, I got to cover that up. Is there anything else? No, everything else is cool. So Sweetie is over there literally just being a little pickle puff with her pillow on the green screen. So basically, yeah, most spoiled dogs in competition on earth, just being so stinking adorable. But anyways, I will catch you a little bit later. And we have some cool videos coming out. We have some amazing videos coming out that include the person who is doing the kitchen. The entire kitchen had to be torn out. No question about it. Would not pass the person that goes and reviews the house and everything. Had to be torn out. Major appliances gone. Every room, major repairs. AC system, massive clean out. I mean, massive clean out. There were like 3 squirrels worth of dust in it. 3 raccoons worth. The grates, I just bought all new ones. They're really I could have taken them, cleaned them, and then repainted them, but I just bought new ones. Because it was the right thing to do. Swimming pool, pressure washed, cleaned out, filled with leaves again, but I'll pull them out. Have to put a fence around it. Tennis court needs to be fully resurfaced. The fence has to be fixed. The lights are falling down. We've taken down 2 lights. I have to take down a third that's starting to fall because it rusted through on its on the nuts that go up from the concrete base to the actual pole. So obviously going forward, an aluminum like pole or whatever would be needed, but I don't have any immediate plans to work on that thing because, let's call it like it is. Like, I got to get this thing, rentable, and they can just use the tennis court as like a place to like let their dog run around because it has a super high fence. So that's what's going on. I will be sharing videos about that. We've been shooting gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of videos, and I'm really excited to show them to you. But you will also be, you'll probably be wondering how I have time to do that stuff. And the trick to it is not just roofing at night, which, by the way, many of you think is unsafe. It is not, but also is. It's only bad when the dew starts, because in Florida, once you get to like 1 a.m., like the whole roof turns into like a wet mess of dew, which, when it's already pre-coated with like a cool coat, like one of those white paints, then it gets slippery. But you like, I was at my dermatologist and he's like, okay, so what kind of harness are you using? I was like, harness. Harness. Grew up on a farm. You don't use a harness when we're on the roof. It's silly. It's Florida. There's like no slant. There's no slope to these things. Anyways, he was horribly offended by that, but he thought it was funny nonetheless. Anyways, guys, so I will catch you a little bit later. Yes, Kelly loves colors. I don't sleep enough. That's a big problem. So yeah, so that's not a house. That's a mansion. Oh, do you guys have the address? You might have the address. Oh, because the tennis court. Yeah, you know what? I've never owned a tennis court before. So, and this one's not really a tennis court. It's more like used to be a tennis court. Now it's eroded. You can't even tell the colors or lines or whatever. Like a net hasn't been out there for like a decade. So I don't play tennis because don't look, guys, don't get me wrong. The only sport that I really like to play is lacrosse. A lot of skill, a lot of tricks, a lot of cool stuff there. But most sports at this point in my life, I'm an adult putting a ball into a net or a hole or a basket or over a line. And at some point, you just got to be like, is this important? Or am I putting a ball in a net, in a hole, over a line? You know what I mean? That's what I like. And then there was this one guy who invited me out for a game of golf. And then, because I'm like the worst business person on earth, I was like, well, why do we have to go play golf? Which is not what you say in business, by the way. That was a mistake. And he's like, well, you don't like golf. And then I said, no, it's fine. It's fine. I lied a little bit because I don't think golf is great. I think it's stupid. I like the carts. I like to drive around, but I just you're putting a ball in a hole that's really far away. And then you're repeating that action over and over. And you can't even throw it or touch it. You have to hit it with a stick. To me, it's like, I get it. There's a lot of like, you got to swing your hips this way and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. You know what I mean? To each his own. And then the clubs. Have you guys seen the clubs? And you can't show up, by the way. It's faux pas if you show up with Walmart clubs. Which is all I'd be willing to like pay for because, it's otherwise they're stupidly expensive. Did you guys realize how expensive these clubs get? They're like, this has titanium and moon dust in it. Who cares? You're hitting a ball into a hole. Like, what am I missing here, dude? And what's up with the shorts, the color schemes? Like, why? Why would you ever think that that's acceptably, appropriately? I mean, there's no woman on earth that would like that combination of colors. Like, why? Anyways, again, I went too far. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit. You guys have a wonderful night. Yeah, fishing. Look, I can't. Okay, right there. Ducky says fishing is awesome. Fishing is a universal right of human beings. Okay. You will never hear me say fishing is stupid. I don't go fishing because I don't eat fish. A. B. When I do go fishing, what I do is I get a big 50-pound bag of fish food for that type of fish estuary, right? And then I have a little cup with a little handle because I like it with the handle because when you're on a boat, you swing a little. And I go doop and I get the scoop and then I throw it out and I feed the fish. And then I like to watch the fish. That's how I fish. To some people, that's stupid. To me, that's how you go fishing. Because, if you go out there and you want to see fish, that's the easiest way to see fish. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy putting balls into holes. I will catch you later and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And please take care of yourself. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews. All right. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, guys.